Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So this is my 10-gallon Guppy Endler hybrid tank. And right now it's looking pretty neglected. I have not done a water change or a gravel vac or any kind of maintenance. I haven't gotten my hands in this tank in over a month. And just looking at the bottom, all that detritus is all hair algae, dead Java moss, fish poop, all that in there. And this is a tank that I've had hair algae issues for a long time. Wasn't really liking it, but in the current state that it's in, I do kind of like it. I'm kind of digging how it's kind of coating the bottom here. I don't really like it where it's mixed in with the plants, like there's a big clump up here. You can see it's blocking the bubbles from the sponge filter. So I'm going to do a water change and kind of remove that right there. But despite that, the fish are looking pretty good. There's some babies in here. There's one back there. Another one. Yeah, you can see a couple back there. It's a nice healthy pregnant female. Several healthy females. Good looking males. The population is not at its peak. There was a time when I had a lot more in here than this, but looks like nice and healthy. They can keep it going. There are no more platies in here. The last platy that I had died earlier this week, or within the last few days. But there's also Pygmy Corydoras in here. And they've actually been more active and I can see them more. I mean, there was a time when this was all Java moss and really thick. And I would wonder, there's a Pygmy Corydoras over here, hovering. But I have noticed they have been pretty active. There's another one down here. Yeah, so this is where we are now, but I'm going to do a water change. I'm going to test the water. It's been a while since I've done that, so we'll see what kind of nitrate levels and what the pH might be. And then I'm going to do a water test, water change, do some gravel vacuuming, try to break up some of this hair algae, and then we'll show the tank after I do that, and I'm going to feed these guys. So stand by. Alright, just finished doing a water change. Upon doing so, shook up the detritus that was all in the hair algae and everything. So you can see all the debris floating around in the water. But got to see the Pygmy Corydoras. They were all just the 5 of them all together. Right. Looks like someone over here, and there were lots of babies. There's one right there. Some of them right here. But yeah. So this is right after doing water changing, adding water. So when I Got water up to the top. All that hair algae that was here. Now it's a nice flow of the air bubbles. But I'm going to let it sit for a bit to let some of this debris settle, and then we'll come back and feed these guys. Alright, let's stand by. Okay, it's feeding time. So I just put in this veggie tab right here. It's one of these Spirulina tabs, veggie tablets. Sticks to the glass. They're awesome. And with that, little particles kind of go flying, so we should notice some of the babies coming out with loose particles of food. Yeah, so there's one of those tablets. I'm also going to put in some of this cobalt smartemia, ultra pellet smartemia. This is a baby brine shrimp alternative. And this is small particles, kind of powdery. Let's see it like that. Drop some of that in. And we're going to put in some Repashy food. So I have a little bit left right here. Put some chunks in. There's some more. Put some over there. Yeah, I also have Amano shrimp in here that are supposed to be good algae eaters, but I've said it before and I'll say it again, they suck at eating hair algae. But again, if I wasn't feeding the fish, I'll eat the fish food before they eat the hair algae, but I mean, I really have gone several days without feeding this tank at all. Maybe they were eating some of it and it's just growing faster, but they have been a disappointment since I got them. Looking back, I would have not gotten them. I'd rather have Neocaridina shrimp in here, cherry shrimp, instead of these guys. Alright, one more chunk. We'll put this over here. Alright, I'm going to close the lid and move the light to the front a little closer so we can see. Yeah, that's better. We can see the colors better. Colorful Guppy Endler hybrids. And with all the food particles around, you can see the baby fish. Babies. Pygmy Cory. I dig that one. That one's kind of wild looking. Looks like my wild guppy is like less color, but some fluorescent colors on it. But these all the fish in here are descendants of a male Endler and female guppies. So the Pygmy Corys, there's 5 in here. As I mentioned before, when this was really thick with Java moss, I didn't see them very much. I didn't know how many there were, but I initially had 4. I lost 2 of those. I added 4 more. I think I lost 1 of those, which leaves me with 5. At least that's as many as I've seen. But the 5 in here now have been pretty active, and I see them a lot. And I do have a theory that I think they may be spawning in here, but then I suspect that the Amano shrimp would be eating their eggs. Some don't get to raise any, but the way their behavior, there's like one that, I don't know how to sex them, tell them apart, male and female, but I do believe one of them, at least one of them, is a beefy female. That one right there. Well, it just came across, but I've seen some of the other smaller ones around it as if they were trying to spawn, perhaps. And I do think the way this tank is now, as dense as it is with the hair algae and the Java moss, this would probably be optimal breeding conditions for Pygmy Corydoras, or maybe any Corydoras. The only question might be their diet, because from what I know, which isn't much, but Corydoras would need lots of live or frozen food, which they don't get. I don't think their mouths are big enough to eat baby guppies, but who knows, maybe when they're just newborns they might be able to gobble some up. But Rapashi is nutritious enough, I believe, and the Smartemia as well, so maybe. I'd like to maybe try something like this in a tank without Amano shrimp and see if I could get some breeding out of them. But the guppies, or the Guppy Endler hybrids, are breeding. I'd like to get the population up again. Just got to keep up with feeding for that. So yeah. So this tank I've had, it's been over 3 years now. First set this up in, it would have been, first had fish in it in, must have been July, yeah, July 2017. This was initially set up as the quarantine tank before I added fish to my 30-gallon tank. Had guppies and platies in it that had babies while they were in quarantine, and then raised the babies in here. And then along the way, got a male Endler mixed in with the guppies. Now they're all guppy hybrids, and had those hair algae issues. Got some Amano shrimp. And looking at the plants, so from very early on had Java fern Windelev, and from this tank is where it all started. I have Java fern Windelev in several of my other tanks, all propagated from the original plant in here. So this is kind of what's left of it. On this piece of Malaysian driftwood I had a nice plant, but now that's all bits of it. A lot of this was entangled in the hair algae when I pulled this out just before I did the water change, and now I pulled these out of it and there's stray bits all over. Cryptocorn lutea back there, that's still doing great. Let's see if I can, in the corner, barely see it back there, but there's still hanging on, the last of the Amazon sword. See a little leaves back there.